angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology, conspiracy, discovery, special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV.
Do ancient texts speak of a 12th planet that orbits in a 3,600-year cycle? Or is it possible that the Earth was visited by ancient astronauts in our distant past? Can you tell that I'm doing a parody of the Ancient Astronauts show? Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is a special web-exclusive broadcast as we get ready for Halloween by discussing spiritual warfare. And today we talk about the links between ancient alien theory and the occult. Joining me on the panel, the author of the new book Saboteurs and Skywatch TV's CEO Tom Horn.
Good to be here.
And the author of the Red Wing Saga, a series of fiction that teaches spiritual warfare through storytelling. Book 1, Blood Lies. Book 2, brand new from Rose Avenue Fiction, Blood Rights. Sharon K. Gilbert.
Hi, sweetie. Your hair's not nearly tall enough.
It isn't.
That's what I was thinking.
It isn't, but there's only so much room on this 16 by 9 screen,
That's
so
true.
we can't do. He does have a tendency to do that. They don't make statements; they just ask questions. Is it possible that? And all the time I'm answering no. But in researching the forthcoming book that Josh, I was honored to co-write with Josh Peck, and to be honest, he did most of the writing in the book. But the section I dealt with really dug into the origins of the whole Ancient Aliens theory, which is so prominent. I mean, it's in its 12th season on television,
Yeah.
that show. It really derives from the occult. Mm-hmm. And you can draw very strong connections, connecting the dots with, starting with the Spiritism movement, Emanuel Swedenborg in the 18th century, and from him to Helena Blavatsky, who built on the spiritualist movement founded by the...
Who was very big in the 19th century, which the era when I write. In fact, she lived in London.
Exactly, yeah. So Blavatsky should show up in that series.
Oh, she will be.
And so should Aleister Crowley, who comes
And
after
he
her.
will be too.
Because they both believed, as did Swedenborg, that they were hearing from entities on other worlds.
Yeah.
Swedenborg believed they were angels living elsewhere in the solar system. Blavatsky said, no, they're the masters of ascended wisdom or ascended masters of wisdom who are guiding humanity's development. Crowley thought he was hearing from Egyptian gods, and specifically an aspect of the god Horus. So he was kicking off the Eon of Horus around 1904. From there, you get Crowley's acolyte, who was named his successor of the Ordo Templi Orientis, the OTO, his secret society, Kenneth Grant, who detected what he called a Sirius Set current, or a Set Sirius current, referring to the Egyptian god of chaos, Set, and the star Sirius. And so he believed, okay, now we're moving from the Eon of Horus into the Eon of Set, this Eon of chaos, and we need to learn how to master chaos if we're not going to be destroyed. But interestingly, Grant thought that the horror fiction author H.P. Lovecraft, who created the Cthulhu mythos, and Cthulhu was this monstrous octopus-headed, tentacled, scaly being with bat-like wings who lay dreaming in his giant city under the sea, waiting for the stars to get right so he would awaken and summon the great old ones to return to Earth. Again, this idea that there are gods out there who created us in our distant past and are just waiting to return. Well, his work, according to Grant, was drawing on the same spiritual source as Aleister Crowley. And in fact, researcher Peter Levenda points out that in 1907, Halloween, Crowley was channeling whatever it was that was talking to him. It wasn't an Egyptian god, it was something claiming to be. He wrote down the word Tutulu for the first time. Claimed to have no idea what it meant. Tutulu, October 31st and November 1st, as he was channeling some of the books that became the holy books of his religion, Thelema. In 1926, H.P. Lovecraft, in writing the story, The Call of Cthulhu, placed the discovery of the little statue of Cthulhu on October 31st, that very night in 1907.
The very year.
The very year and very day that Crowley, now, according to Grant, according to Lavenda, Lovecraft didn't know who Crowley was. May have heard of him, had no idea about his work. Lovecraft claimed to be an atheist all his life. But the odds of this happening, of Crowley writing down Cthulhu and Lovecraft coming up with that and placing the discovery of this thing on the very night in his story that Crowley was channeling this, just astronomical.
Astronomical, and I would suggest perhaps they were channeling something.
Right.
Agents of deception, which even some of the secular researchers into ufology and the whole idea about alien abduction, some of the best.
Right.
Who is the French Jacques Vallée?
Oh, yes, yeah.
You know, saying that, you know, after all of those years of research and interviewing people who were abductees, and who was the psychologist that...
Dr. John Mack.
Yeah, that got hit by a car and killed. But they all came to a similar type of conclusion, that whatever this is, it seems to be nearly identical to the age-old theological discussion around demonology and demon possession and demonic activity. Now, I was thinking as you were talking, and you know these facts better than I do, but that this isn't just an antiquated idea with Lovecraft and Crowley and guys like that, but a lot of the modern people in the UFO circle are also still saying that they're incommunicado.
Right.
They're talking with these entities right now, right, about the forthcoming official disclosure. Some of this was picked up in the recent WikiLeaks discoveries. But from what I understand, because you guys just came back recently from Roswell, what was that? Was it their 70th?
70th, which is why we went, because biblically that's an important number.
Yeah, so the 70th, and you talked to a lot of the people that were there, not just Mike Heiser, you did that too. And in fact, we're going to be giving away kind of a quasi-documentary where you went behind the scenes with a lot of the experts in this field and talked to them about, you know, are we moving towards official disclosure? You know, if we are, why do you think we are? And what is the spiritual element behind this? But you found out there were people in the that are members of what, like MUFON or whatever. They don't like some of the other people talking about being in contact with spirits, right?
Right, yeah. MUFON has been co-opted at a very high level by the Ancient Aliens crowd, and this idea that there is a secret space program and that entities are in contact with us, you know, the Ashtar Command or whatever, are communicating via telepathy with certain contactees here on Earth. Now, I have no doubt that those contactees, at least some of them, are hearing from something.
Sure.
But it's like Aleister Crowley, it's like Kenneth Grant, it's like Helena Blavatsky. Whatever they're hearing from ain't who they think it is, or who they're claiming it is. You know, and it was the work of of Crowley through H.P. Lovecraft, who inspired, you know, this whole idea of the old gods coming back. You know, they created us and they're coming back. Inspired Eric von Daniken to write Chariots of the Gods, and then in 1976 inspired Zecharia Sitchin to write the 12th Planet. You know, Planet Nibiru's coming back, and that's where the Anunnaki live, and the Anunnaki, who were the Sumerian gods, really created humanity, and they're going to come back, and, you know, who knows what will happen then. But there are people today who still believe that they are channeling contact from these ascended masters or whatever. In fact, one of them is a New Age teacher, is the nice way to put it. Some would call her a cult leader, who is a member of the MUFON Inner Circle. There are 13 members of the MUFON Inner Circle.
13,
13, yes.
And I always find these numbers interesting, right? The 13, but also the 9, part of who they believe.
Another group that was channeled by
essentially the Aeneid.
Yeah, the 9 being the 9 principal gods of the Egyptian pantheon, who began
channeled by people like associated with Bell Helicopter, really influential people of wealth.
Right.
And
people,
power.
you know, old money, the Astor family, the Forbes family, the Payne family, who go back, you know, hundreds of years in the United States. From the early 50s through the late 70s, through various channelers, all connected through a CIA operative by the name of Dr. Andrea Puharich, who was worked for the CIA for years, basically on mind control and stuff like that. But this was one of his projects, his round table, where he would get this group together that believed they were channeling this group of gods from outer space called the Nine. In fact, one of the periodic members of the group was Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, who later went on to write a movie treatment based on the Nine. Never went anywhere, but it did kind of show up in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, a little bit.
So the thing that I have to ask, and this is hopefully in the spirit of Jacques Vallée, who questioned some true believers in the UFO movement about the existence of the supposed base at Dulce, New Mexico, this big underground base where alien greys and humans are working together, and he just asked, who takes out the garbage?
Right.
I mean, where's the power coming from? I mean, there would be a heat signature you could see from any satellite in space, and they were like, no, it's got to be there.
Alien technology doesn't work that way. Right?
Exactly.
They have a different kind of an incinerator.
I guess.
Yeah.
But that's my question, is if we are being contacted by extraterrestrials, why is it all by telepathy? I mean, if these people had the technology to overcome the problems of how do we shield the craft against interstellar radiation, how do we overcome the energy requirements needed to get from here to there, have they not yet figured out how to work a radio or invent a webcam?
But now, haven't most of the people in the serious parts of like MUFON and whatever, they've moved more to this idea of parallel realities.
They have, yeah.
And it's not really a nuts and bolts
Right.
craft that's bat craft.
Well, and that's the thing, is that
that's
the serious researchers, and I mean that in terms of gravitas, not the star system Sirius, which plays an important role in this whole mythos, they are not happy that MUFON has gone in this direction, that it has kind of embraced this alternate reality, this contiguous universe, which was a phrase that showed up in the WikiLeaks emails released from John Podesta. They're not happy about it because it's basically accepting unquestioningly, unlike Jacques Vallée, who takes out the garbage, how did they get here, and if they're here and they crossed light years of space to get here, why can't they just pick up the phone? Why are they using telepathy to try to talk to us?
But I think that also is another part of the way some of them would answer that is that there was a reason for stealth, there's a reason for timing, we're moving towards an official disclosure moment. This is a lot of what you guys are going to be dealing with in November and December on the day the Earth stands still, where you're dealing hypothetically with this idea that, okay, the WikiLeaks, according to WikiLeaks, we were moving towards official disclosure in 2017. Even representatives from the Vatican talking to Podesta about this. Do they know something that we don't know? And if you do a little bit of mental gymnastics and ask yourself the question, okay, what would happen if all of a sudden we wake up tomorrow morning and everybody from the Pope to the President are standing in the well of the United Nations saying, folks, we have an announcement to make, right?
Well, biblically, we know that something is coming that Jesus refers to as the strong delusion. Yeah,
and that is the other part of this is, and that thought has kind of come back around. When I was a young pastor, well, I wasn't really young, but I was in the 70s, so a lot younger than now, right?
And long hair, too.
Yeah, and, well, not when I was a pastor, but just before.
Yeah.
They made me cut my hair. Isn't that sad? It's just so sad. Anyway.
I'm never going to get over that.
Now I wished I had it to cut, but be that what it is. Yeah. Now I fit in with the whole UFO globe orb kind of thing. Go. But I think that would be one of their answers as well. There's a reason now, because don't forget that it was only a couple of decades ago in which even university level philosophers were saying that even the discovery of a microorganism on another world could create a giant ripple effect through religion that would challenge the notion or the idea of our human exceptionalism, as Wesley Smith calls it, that there's something different about Earth, that it's a special place. I think a lot of philosophers and theologians today, and not just in the Catholic Church, have changed their mind about that, and they no longer believe that would be the challenge to our orthodoxy or to our faith, and therefore maybe we're ready now for official disclosure, and so they can stop communicating psychically with the little group on the inside, right? And they can just come out now and make themselves known to humanity for what they are.
Well, we'll talk about that in the next segment. But
what was that old movie where it turns out that the aliens were actually what we would think of as the devil. Remember that old book that was...
Oh, Arthur C. Clarke, Childhood's End.
Childhood's End.
yes.
Another reason they may not have made themselves known for what they actually are is because it would scare us. And in Childhood's End, you know, they come and they just stay in the ship and they only have one or two people they'll talk to, right?
Yeah.
And then finally at the end, when the world is ready, then they reveal themselves, and isn't it glorious that the very persons that we have always thought of as the devil and his angels are actually our saviors and our heroes, right?
Right, yeah. Well, we talk about this because, frankly, the entire UFO phenomenon, and especially the contactee phenomenon, is it's a science fiction religion. It is a new religion for the 21st century. And we'll continue that discussion as we continue this series of web-exclusive broadcasts leading up to Halloween week on Skywatch TV. With Tom Horn and Sharon K. Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert. Thanks for watching. This is Skywatch TV.
The Trump administration is now vowing to crack down and punish deep state saboteurs.
Today, America is being manipulated through a Washington-based shadow government.
This is a war now, the deep state against you and the President of the United States.
The artificial chaos engineered by elites and advanced by enemies of democracy is being propagandized by a devoted media machine to take down President Trump.
I submit to you that the establishment that you talk about, the so-called deep state, exists on both sides, the left and the right, and President Trump is up against both of them.
But this is not the whole story. A much more sinister quest behind the deep state is at work to usher in a final world order.
He's an outsider. He's not them. He's not part of the club. You know, he hasn't been through the initiation rites. He didn't belong to the secret society. He didn't belong to the secret society. The secret society.
They're trying to cheat you out of the future and the future that you want. They're trying to cheat you out of the leadership you want.
Globalists, secret societies, and world power brokers anticipate the insidious arrival of a messianic strongman they call the Gray Champion. Now, for the first time ever, expert on occultism and best-selling author Dr. Thomas Horn joins a senior analyst from the Pentagon and a retired police detective to bring you the shocking truth behind an ancient cabal, almost too fantastic to believe.
If these forces are successful, this country will not survive.
They have a plan for your future, but you can know their secret and stop them in their tracks. Get ready, saboteurs, how secret deep state occultists are manipulating American society toward a final world order.
America is being manipulated by sinister occult forces and a Washington-based shadow government. But now, for the first time ever, expert on occultism and best-selling author Dr. Thomas Horn is joined by senior analyst from the Pentagon, Colonel Bob McGinnis, and retired police detective Carl Gallups to expose these nefarious forces. Skywatch TV is proud to announce the Saboteurs Collection. When you order the new books, Saboteurs, Gods and Thrones, and The Deeper State from Skywatch TV, you'll also receive free of charge for a limited time the exclusive oversized hardback collector editions of the classic 2-volume set, The Devils and Evil Spirits of Babylonia, and The Fallen Angels and the Heroes of Mythology. These two timeless masterpieces, finally in print again after 100 years, are the perfect gift for the scholar or Bible student in your life, and hold a retail value of over $60 all by themselves, but are included absolutely free when you purchase the limited time Saboteurs Collection. But that's not all. You'll also receive the never-before-aired DVD Off the Record, featuring exclusive interviews with Dr. Thomas Horn, Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, and Detective Carl Gallups, further exposing the dark secrets of globalist elites and how to stop them in their tracks. This content is only available in this exclusive offer and will not be aired anywhere else. Finally, you'll also receive The Shadow Hand, the over 24-hour Steve Quayle and Tom Horn definitive audio series on CD. This audio collection discloses the terrifying truth behind the infamous WikiLeaks dumps, the shadow government, and so much more. This unprecedented special offer sold separately holds a retail value of over $175. Yours now for only $29.99 plus shipping and handling. The holiday gift season is coming, and you won't find this collection anywhere else. So don't delay. Order the Saboteurs collection for somebody you love now at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985.
Angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology. Conspiracy. Discovery. Special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV.
The Ancient Aliens phenomenon is nothing more than a religion papered over with a science fiction veneer. Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. We've got a series of special broadcasts, web exclusives, available only on the website and the Skywatch TV channels on Roku, Apple TV, and the Skywatch TV mobile app, leading up to Halloween as we discuss spiritual warfare and the various aspects of it. You wouldn't think that the UFO phenomenon was one of those, but you would be incorrect. Joining me on the panel today, the author of the new book, Saboteurs, Tom Horn.
Good to be here.
The author of the Red Wing Saga, Book 1, Blood Lies, Book 2, Blood Rights, now available from Rose Avenue Fiction. My best friend, Sharon K. Gilbert.
Hi, sweetie. My introduction takes longer than his.
Well, I go home with you.
Good point. Of course, he signs your checks.
That's true. Okay, well, we can recut this, right? Yeah. We're forthcoming from Defender Publishing in November, a book that I was honored to co-write with Josh Peck, The Day the Earth Stands Still, Unmasking the Old Gods Behind ETs, UFOs, and the Official Disclosure Movement. And, Josh dealt a lot with the official disclosure aspect of it and the emails that came out in the 2016 campaign. But it's nothing new. Every 4 years, you go back at 2008, Obama will release the information this time. In 2004, basically every 4 years when there's a change of administration, the outgoing president, he'll open the books and show us what's in Area 51. And it never happens.
Right.
And I contend, based on the research that I did for the book, it's because there's no there. There is nothing that they can show us because there is no credible physical evidence of an extraterrestrial presence. It's all channeled information that's come into sensitives who are hearing from something.
Right.
But it ain't what they think it is.
Right.
Now, what was really odd in the 2016 campaign was that a lot of this contact was coming from Edgar Mitchell, sixth man on the moon, co-founder of the Institute for Noetic Science, which was featured in Dan Brown's book, The Last Symbol, their Lost Symbol, which which you wrote about. And Mitchell, like many others, are looking to the skies looking for an extraterrestrial savior, and that's really what the UFO phenomenon is all about. I mean, for people who aren't interested in the physics of it, like a Stanton Friedman, how do they get here? Let's figure out the mathematics. Or a Josh Peck who's looking at the science and saying, boy, it would be really cool if this was true, as long as they're not here to cook us.
Yeah.
But for many people, and this is what we found when we attended the 70th anniversary in Roswell, many of the people there are looking for answers to the big questions that the Bible answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where did we come from? Why are we here? And where do we go when we die?
Well, in a lot of the UFO community and the ancient alien people in particular, they just see the Bible as another document of evidence. That, you know, you say potato, I say potato. You're talking about angels and gods. We're talking about extraterrestrial
Right.
intelligence. In fact, you know, at the recent Branson conference, when I was talking about the whole process that Chris Putnam and I went through and how we were out there on radio, and we're talking about the Vatican and the prophecy of the popes, but everybody calling in is wanting to know, why is the Vatican out there talking about aliens? And so we got on that whole quest, you know, about, well, we got to kind of figure out where these guys are coming from, right? So there is a spiritual dynamic to the UFO community that sees in the Bible just, you know, our religious descriptions of exactly the same characters that they're talking about. And we were surprised to find that guys like Brother Guy Consolmagno, the Pope's personal astronomer then, he's now the head of the Vatican Observatory Research Group, the acronym of which is VORG. And Chris Putnam had a blast with that in the book.
It sounds like a character Gary Oldman would play in a movie.
Yeah, VORG, right? And but Guy Consolmagno, if you know, they put out his book Intelligent Life in the Universe. They immediately pulled it from the market. I wanted to know why. The conspiracy meter in my head that often goes off went off, right? And I wanted to know why. I got a hold of him. He was willing to talk to me. I interviewed him 5 times via the internet from Rome, and but he sent me a copy of his book because they had pulled it from the market. And once I got the copy of the book, I understood why. Primarily 2 things in there that just blew my mind. One, in which Consolmagno, so keep in mind, he's the Pope's personal astronomer, the keeper of the meteorites and, I don't know, bin stones and anything else that's fell out of heaven that the Vatican is in possession of, right? In his book, he says it's not, you know, beyond imagination to think that Jesus is actually a child of one of these alien races.
Oh.
And when you read that in his book, and I asked him about it, I said, you know, to put this into New Age language, in essence, you're saying the Immaculate Conception was what others would call an abduction phenomenon in which Mary was taken and, you know, artificially impregnated with a star child. He didn't like the way I was saying it, but that's what he says in his book, right? But the other thing that he says in his book is, because I asked him, I said, well, okay, you got you know, Jose Gabel Funes and guys like that out there right now. And remember all this discussion that the Space Brothers might be morally superior to us because if they're not fallen like we are, then they're closer to God than we are.
And they can teach us more about our Bible than we do.
They might actually know more. Well, they're closer to God. They might know more about the, you know, the revelation than what we do. And that kind of spooky stuff that seemed to me that this could be part of the foundation for leading to a great deception. Some of the stuff you guys are going to be dealing with in November and December on the day the earth stands still, right? But I asked him, I said, so where would you in the Bible see that aliens may have visited the earth once before and they're coming back? And that they're more knowledgeable than we are about divinity, and they're going to correct our understanding of the gospel. And I'm not kidding you. I still have the emails. They're sitting in my inbox. He emails me back and he says, well, Tom, haven't you ever read where Jesus said, I have other people you know not of? And secondly, he said, Genesis 6, read it. He said
he'd say that.
He did. Actually, he says that in his book, Intelligent Life in the Universe, that Genesis 6 is an example of the earth being visited by highly advanced non-humans that knew more about science and whatever than what we do, right? And I'm like, yeah, they did. They came down, they taught men how to make weapons of war. They taught them how to use roots, Book of Enoch. They used roots and things like that to create concoctions that would put them into contact, pharmakia, right?
And how to abort children.
And so all of the very same stuff that you see in these circles, they continue to run in the same circle. We're moving towards an official disclosure moment. We're in communication with them psychically. They have an advanced knowledge of science and technology, and yet it is the reinvention of the Watchers. You know, whenever we talk about transhumanism, we ask this question: is this really just the fulfillment of Matthew 24:37, as it was in the days of Noah? Is that what we're looking at? But to have the Pope's personal astronomer use Genesis 6 as an example of the advanced aliens that are going to come here in the future to correct our understanding of God. Great deception was popping out of every pore in my forehead,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I've heard of spin doctors. This is spin doctrine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
right.
a good one. I like that. Spin doctrine.
Ooh, that's the title of a book.
There you go.
Better write that down.
Well, one of the
pending.
strong appeals of this delusion is because if we can be convinced that our gods simply have cooler toys, better technology, you know, they're aliens who came and visited us thousands of years in the past when we were too primitive to understand what we were seeing. That means that as our technology improves, then we too can be as gods, and that's
right.
the whole spirit behind the transhumanist
It is.
movement.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
That's hideous.
Before I forget,
These books, oh my goodness.
Right.
You're giving these away.
we're giving them away. Actually, and here's the thing. We put a retail value of those books at $60, but anybody that's going to college or university, when you have to buy a hardback textbook, right, especially an oversized book like that, what's it going to cost you? $200, sometimes $300. It's amazing what you got to pay. Now, we put them at $60, but we're giving them away free. That's the whole point. And one of these books was actually the one that was identified by the Collins elite, right, that evidently believe that what is going on in alien abduction phenomenon is equal to what we would call demonic possession or demonic activity. And they came to that conclusion as a result of reading, actually, this book right here, The Devils and Evil Spirits of Babylonia,
Right.
which goes through the ancient Babylonian writings and spells and incantations. But this was written by a Christian author, so he's simply saying these are the belief systems of the ancients. I immediately have these two books in my library, right? So if people are thinking about the holiday season, right now we're going through all of our broadcast programs this month in October. We're talking about saboteurs. In between these broadcast programs, we're doing all of these web exclusives in which we're talking about everything from aliens to Halloween,
Right.
To the supernaturalism behind Blood Lies and Blood Rights, the Red Wing Saga books. But this gives people some scholarly material that with the holiday season coming up, you get them free.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You don't got to tell somebody you didn't pay $100 and some for them, and you can give them away to somebody in your family that's a serious student of the Bible or history.
And what's fascinating is that the texts were translated over 100 years ago.
Over
and
100
there
years
hasn't really been that much in the way of, and, you know, I'm saying this as a layperson, but from what I've read, and I've spent a lot of the last 2 years reading academic papers related to ancient cosmology, there's not been an awful lot that's changed in how those texts have been translated. And a lot of the stuff that came out of what was ancient Babylon was early in the, frankly, the last 40 years or so, it's been too dangerous to do a lot of archaeological work in Syria and Iraq in particular.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff, you know, you're not going to get any updates on stuff coming out of the sand as far as new discoveries. So, but a lot of that stuff was translated very early on, 19th century and early 20th century. So it's not like just because these are republished volumes that have been out of print, it doesn't mean that the information is obsolete.
Right. I read a lot of this stuff too, as you've been studying, and I've been sort of sharing your PDFs back and forth. And I do that because the people who are part of the inner circle, who are the good guys, battling Red Wing, they've read these things.
Well,
they know these guys who do the translations.
And professors, that teach in university today, they have these books in their library. It's just not that, it's not common for lay people
Right.
to have access to this type stuff. You know, like R. Campbell Thompson that wrote this book, he was the assistant in the Department of Egyptian and Syrian Antiquities for the British Museum. So these are heady guys, right? This is also back in the day when they didn't have the internet. They didn't have access to quick, easy information. These guys had to spend a lifetime, right, of serious study and debate, right, and going back and forth between what the meanings of words were. So when they were translating these texts, these were very serious, both philosophers and also academics.
That's an extraordinary offer to give those away with that package. You're crazy, Tom.
Well, we're crazy, Tom. Well, we're also giving away the 24-hour audio series with me and Steve Quayle. shadow hand. We're also giving away, so talking about aliens and Roswell, while you were in Roswell, you guys shot 4 hours, I think it is, of footage in which you were interviewing experts that had come there for the 70th anniversary all over the world. We could have turned this into a documentary, wrote a script around it, put it out there for $30 or $40, but we've decided instead, it's never been seen before, and it's not going to be seen, except that we're giving all of that raw documentary interview footage away with your books when they come out in November and December, the day the Earth stands still.
And I'll tell you what, some of that stuff was just absolutely astonishing. We talked with somebody who was a victim of the abduction phenomenon.
Yeah.
We talked with...
and in fact, she gave some information on camera she had never told anybody else.
Right. There was very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Joe Jordan, who's co-founder, president of the CE4 Research Group, talking about the evidence that this is a spiritual phenomenon. The abduction phenomenon is spiritual, not physical in a sense, but primarily spiritual. I mean, when you can stop an event in the name of Jesus, it's not something from Zeta Reticuli.
Right.
And then a gentleman who I got to tell you, and Josh, I think you'd agree with this, and Sharon, you too, one of the most remarkable 45 minutes I've ever spent talking to a gentleman named Daryl Sims, who bills himself as the alien hunter, but he does that so that he can get invited to these UFO events and then say, you know what, here's what the evidence actually shows. This is a spiritual event, like Joe Jordan. It's information that the guys in MUFON don't necessarily want to hear. It's certainly something that the true believers in the ET gospel, the ancient aliens theorists, they don't want to hear this. But he said, when you follow the evidence where it leads and you ask those questions, who takes out the garbage?
Right.
Where does the energy for this come from? And why does it stop when you call on the name of Jesus Christ?
That's the question.
That was some powerful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Michael Heiser was interviewed. Guy Malone, a contactee, an experiencer himself, who is essentially Christianity's missionary to Roswell. That is some powerful, powerful stuff that people will see. And I'm really, really glad you're putting it out there this way because it is information that needs to be in our churches. People need to see this. Those books need to be in church reference libraries. And so it is an honor to be a part of this.
People want answers to the big questions,
Right.
and they're oftentimes not getting it, especially young people.
Well,
and
of
if
course,
you can
that's
start
what
there,
we're
then-
trying to do, and we are blessed to have people like you. I'm always so impressed, Sharon, with you and with Derek, and I've said this publicly on many occasions, and with Josh. What you guys have up here, that's why you don't have any notes, and I'm like, I have to think a thought.
You hardly look at those notes. Are you kidding?
It's like my Linus blanket. I carry them around with me, but then, I probably don't really need it anyway. But then you do have, but you're technologically advanced too. So you're more transhuman than I am.
Then moving on to that. By the way, you've already seen it because we've already shown the show, but Tom guested with us on a Sci Friday, so if you've not seen his episode of Sci Friday, you have to watch that.
Right. If you believe, because really the transhumanist movement, which we just sort of alluded to, it's kind of a kissing cousin with the whole UFO phenomenon.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, a lot of the people in the transhumanist movement are also alien believers.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is all about replacing God with technology.
That's right.
That's what it all comes down to. Well, these have gone quickly, but we hope this has been a blessing to you and valuable information. Of course, you'll find more in all the programs that we do at Skywatch TV, but please take advantage of the special offers coming up this holiday season. The Saboteurs package with books by Tom Horn, Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, and Carl Gallups, and then, of course, in November, The Day the Earth Stands Still. Not only our book, but the book that Josh and I co-authored, but then republished new editions of Mike Heiser's Faction novels in which he uses fiction to tell the spiritual truths behind the UFO and alien abduction phenomena, the facade and the portent. Those are coming from Skywatch TV and Defender Publishing as well. We thank you for watching as we keep watch. With Tom Horn and Sharon K. Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is Skywatch TV.
The Trump administration is now vowing to crack down and punish deep state saboteurs.
Today, America is being manipulated through a Washington-based shadow government.
This is a war now, the deep state against you and the President of the United States.
The artificial chaos engineered by elites and advanced by enemies of democracy is being propagandized by a devoted media machine to take down President Trump.
I submit to you that the establishment that you talk about, the so-called deep state, exists on both sides, the left and the right, and President Trump is up against both of them.
But this is not the whole story. A much more sinister quest behind the deep state is at work to usher in a final world order.
He's an outsider. He's not them. He's not part of the club. He hasn't been through the initiation rites. He didn't belong to the secret society. He didn't belong to the secret society. The secret society.
They're trying to cheat you out of the future and the future that you want. They're trying to cheat you out of the leadership you want.
Globalists, secret societies, and world power brokers anticipate the insidious arrival of a messianic strongman they call the Gray Champion. Now, for the first time ever, expert on occultism and best-selling author Dr. Thomas Horn joins a senior analyst from the Pentagon and a retired police detective to bring you the shocking truth behind an ancient cabal almost too fantastic to believe.
If these forces are successful, this country will not survive.
They have a plan for your future, but you can know their secret and stop them in their tracks. Get ready, saboteurs, how secret deep state occultists are manipulating American society toward a final world order.
America is being manipulated by sinister occult forces and a Washington-based shadow government. But now, for the first time ever, expert on occultism and best-selling author Dr. Thomas Horn is joined by senior analyst from the Pentagon, Colonel Bob McGinnis, and retired police detective Carl Gallups to expose these nefarious forces. Skywatch TV is proud to announce the Saboteurs Collection. When you order the new books, Saboteurs, Gods and Thrones, and The Deeper State from Skywatch TV, you'll also receive free of charge for a limited time the exclusive oversized hardback collector editions of the classic 2-volume set, The Devils and Evil Spirits of Babylonia, and The Fallen Angels and the Heroes of Mythology. These two timeless masterpieces, finally in print again after 100 years, are the perfect gift for the scholar or Bible student in your life, and hold a retail value of over $60 all by themselves, but are included absolutely free when you purchase the limited time Saboteurs Collection. But that's not all. You'll also receive the never-before-aired DVD Off the Record, featuring exclusive interviews with Dr. Thomas Horn, Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, and Detective Carl Gallups, further exposing the dark secrets of globalist elites and how to stop them in their tracks. This content is only available in this exclusive offer and will not be aired anywhere else. Finally, you'll also receive The Shadow Hand, the over 24-hour Steve Quayle and Tom Horn definitive audio series on CD. This audio collection discloses the terrifying truth behind the infamous WikiLeaks dumps, the shadow government, and so much more. This unprecedented special offer sold separately holds a retail value of over $175. Yours now for only $29.99 plus shipping and handling. The holiday gift season is coming, and you won't find this collection anywhere else. So don't delay. Order the Saboteurs Collection for somebody you love now at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985.